Hello again, I'm Bob Colt. We're continuing our conversations in Charlotte Public Schools. And Mark Short from Washington Elementary is here, the new principal.
Thank you.
And it hasn't been long, has it?
November 7th was my first official day.
And how do you like it?
I love it. I love
Yeah.
being in the hot seat every day.
And it is kind of a hot seat to be a principal, isn't it?
Yeah. I was thinking about it on the way over here. It's like a roller coaster ride. Some days you're up here and you're feeling very successful, and then the next day might be very challenging where you emotionally you feel like you're at the bottom. But since I've been there, we've had great success.
So what is a principal, a lot of people might not understand it, but what does a principal have to do in a day?
At the bottom of my contract it said, and many other items to do, and it could be everything from removing snow. I guess the quick answer would be anything and everything to make the child's day a little more positive, or the teacher's day a little bit more successful.
Yeah, because you have a lot of teachers you have to support and keep moving, don't you?
Yes, Charlotte Public Schools has a great infrastructure of support, so there are a lot of adults in those buildings.
Yeah, and so for anything unique to Washington Elementary, then, I mean, you've been in education for a while now, but not here
Sure.
that long. So anything unique to Washington?
The large amount of staff, I believe, helps kids achieve. Even the struggling students have many opportunities here at Washington Elementary as far as in Charlotte Public Schools.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit about your history too, because we don't really know that much.
My history is obviously in education, but my passion in education was outdoor education and technology. And I've been working with Michigan Tech for the last 3 years, blending technology and outdoor education. And then this opportunity came up. And
So what does that mean? It sounds interesting, but I don't know enough.
Site-based education is where I was going with that thread of my life at that time. And what means you get these iPads in the classroom, and they're good there, but they're also good just outside of that classroom. So I was breaking the walls of the classroom as a teacher, and that means making iMovies, iMovie trailers. Kids were doing interviews much like you are doing right now, and with the technology of the iPad, they can push buttons and edit all 30 at a time.
And the quality is great.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and how did you actually keep up on all of the technology as it's rapidly changing?
That is the difficult part. One of my other passions while I was doing that was teaching professional development in the evening through a college called Spring Arbor University. So that really pushed, so I was working during the day with students, and then the evening with adults, and they're asking questions, and I was the guy to figure that stuff out.
Yeah. So you've been working all the time, but
Pretty much.
So you're used to a job with a lot of activity and demands on it. And Washington Elementary, being the principal there, I'm sure has a lot of demands on your time. How do you like it so far?
So far, I enjoy every day that I've been there, and I want to get back in the classroom a little bit more and enjoy those successes and things. So far, in this short window of time, the learning curve and all the other things that go along with the job initially, but I can't wait to spend more time in the classrooms and get to share the knowledge that I have and things like that.
Yeah, and you have kind of a unique knowledge, don't you think, with the technology and the outdoors?
Well, as you get to know me, I am kind of unique, and that helps out. I have a bird feeder just outside my window, so I try to keep in touch with the outdoors, even when I'm indoors, on those kinds of things, and then teaching those items to kids. It's amazing what they'll do with that.
Yeah, and what do kids really need here in Charlotte? I mean, you talk about technology, but young people are just way ahead of my generation in embracing technology and using it as a learning tool.
What do they need?
Yeah, well, I mean, the district has been able to provide them iPads and
Yeah.
a lot of other things, but their needs are constantly changing, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with what we have. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I was talking about adults surrounding the children, but the technology is right there as well in comparison to other districts around here.
Yeah, they maybe need a little guidance and help sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it's just listening to kids or students' inquiries, or maybe a lot of my lessons were about inquiries that I had. I would hear a bird. Well, what does that particular bird sound like? I'm sorry, I would hear a bird's song and wonder what bird that relates to.
Yeah, so you could match it, and the technology helps you.
Absolutely.
How are we going to keep up with the changes in technology, though? That's going to be a challenge, isn't it?
It is, but many of the companies now, without mentioning them, have updates for the computers where they had in the past they did not do that.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see companies, coming up with the new updates for them, so we don't have to buy as many products.
Yeah. So, Mark, what do the teachers need? If we know what students need, what do the teachers need?
Teachers always need time.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yes, and we all need more time, and that's unfortunately not something that we can make. So I guess the quick answer to that would be abilities to work more efficiently. If this is the only amount of time that we have, how can we spend it, and with the best bang for the buck, if you will.
We kind of have high expectations. Everybody always says to a teacher, you've got to do this in a day, and it's pretty aggressive.
Well, especially when your days don't even happen, when you have 4 snow days.
Yeah.
But that's very true. They're going back to the time, that time's gone.
Yeah. And teachers have to invest time not only in the classroom teaching, but also planning and preparing and other
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah, and just collaborating with your peers.
So how does a principal give them the resources they need? Do you create some channels to listen to feedback from teachers and others?
We have quite a few of our mornings are like that. We have different, tomorrow morning is professional development, but teachers will have a time to collaborate, work on different things. We have mornings of MTSS to try to help work with the teachers to problem solve about struggling students. So Charlotte Public Schools has organized an infrastructure to address some of those needs, but they're never-ending needs as well.
Sure. So tell me about the struggling students. What can you do? What do you do?
There's, without being very specific,
Just in general, I mean,
just in general.
obviously, Charlotte provides a lot of service, and it seems that you put a lot of investment in time in identifying those young people, and there are a lot of programs to help. But just from your short period of time here, there's a lot of focus and attention on meeting their needs, isn't there?
I would say the answer to that is building relationships, and that's not only just between a teacher and a student or a principal and a student. That goes for any of us. Once you have that relationship and you're invested and you know parents' names and siblings and you've heard a few stories, so the struggling student needs to be heard. And again, time, and then you have loaded up classrooms because of economic issues. It becomes very tough to spend all that time to get to know the kids that deeply, but that is what works.
Yeah, and so from your perspective and the experience you've gained in a short period of time, are you making progress? Have you seen from day to day things getting better or easier? Or?
Oh, I wouldn't say easier, but I feel more confident. The relationships that I am building with adults and students. I spent 4 days, well, 3. I couldn't get in on that Monday, and without the children there in the building, and it was very empty. And I felt, I don't know what the word is, but Monday morning when the students were walking in, I stand out and welcome them in at the front of the school. It just warms your heart.
Yeah.
And so a full school, a school in session, is a good school.
Yeah, because there's a lot of activity and
Yes.
learning going on. So what do you as a principal then ask parents to do? I mean, we do want parents to be more involved in the education of our children.
Well, inquire about your student's education. Be proactive about what's going on with your student or students. As many parents, I have many students. And not just the inquiry that's, very deep. I don't know what I'm trying to really say here, I guess.
You want them to
Don't-
be active.
Be active and ask the deeper questions, like, how was your day? Did you learn anything? No. Go deeper than that, please. Go
You have to have
deeper.
some active
Right,
listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the things that we send home. Listen to the Honeywells that we, and ask the kids the deeper questions, like, how is division going, or how is, these types of things.
Yeah. It's a challenge too, because sometimes as young parents, they have to learn to help their kids at home. They have to learn all of these courses and things to be an asset to kids, right?
Sure.
So it's a challenge for them. Any way to help them?
Any way to help them?
Yeah.
As
Help
far
parents.
as in school?
Sure, because
Well, come on in and see us.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the best thing that you can do, is be active in their education. Fill out a background check and come in and visit with us.
yeah, and school's always open to parents. You're welcome their activity and involvement, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, for young people who are at Washington Elementary, what are some of your goals for them? How do you want them to leave and as they move on through the educational system in Charlotte? What do you want to achieve with young people?
I find a lot of satisfaction in learning, as we've talked through this. So, being a lifelong learner, if you question something, take that question find the answer to that question. Not, why is the sky blue? Don't just wonder about that for 20 years. Get the answer, move on to something else. Be a
Yeah.
lifelong learner, I guess, is where I see everybody, is where I want them to be.
Yeah, and kids engage that, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're more inquisitive than myself sometimes.
Well, and you, again, just take a step back in this conversation. You've got a great group of teachers at Washington,
Oh,
don't
sure.
you?
Yes.
And so what do they need? What does a teacher really need to be successful? We talked a little bit about technology, but they also need a supportive principal.
And they also need patience,
Yeah.
wait time for kids. Sometimes the kids figure the problems out themselves, a sense of understanding, a sense of, just using your own memory from how your childhood was.
Sure.
We forget very quickly, how hard it is to be a learner.
Yeah. And elementary school, it's kind of a unique age, isn't it? All the kids who are going to Washington.
Sure. It's
Yeah.
every student that shows up has a different background, so everyone is unique in that building. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of diversity.
Sure.
Yeah. So, what can you do to help teachers prepare? They have less time. You had mentioned a key issue, more demands on their time. Is there any way to help make their job easier?
That's exactly what my job is. I try to tweak schedules, just try to take a lens, from every angle to try to make things move a little smoother. Currently, we're working on behavior on lunch recess, and as well as in the cafeteria. And that climate boils into the classrooms.
Yeah.
So when I said I wasn't in the classrooms, I'm focusing on that right now in a positive manner, and then that just feeds into a positive attitude in the lunchroom and in the playground. Those are your hot spots, if you will. Those will bleed into the classrooms, and then we can be more successful in the classrooms as well.
Yeah, it's not just learning, but for young people, we have behavior expectations too, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. And, just practicing your manners, walking appropriately, and things like that. Just
Well, so how does a young person get a good role model now for behavior?
from their teachers and
Yeah.
their parents.
Yeah.
You certainly don't get it on TV very often, on social media and things like that. But
Yeah.
the educational faculty is a large amount of their role models.
Yeah, and you mentioned social media. That has to be a concern for any principal.
It's a concern for me, absolutely, but at the K through 3 grade level that we're at Washington, not so much.
Yeah, but parents are communicating back and forth, and sometimes you can't address all needs, so it's a difficult thing, a challenge for educators.
yes, it is a hurdle at times.
Yeah. So, what in the remaining part of 2014, what do you hope to accomplish at Washington?
Well, I'm sure, as I'm never completely satisfied with everything, it seems like I have a hurdle, I jump over that hurdle and go to the next one. But as of right now, I really want to have that lunchroom, that recess, looking more positive, and then going into those classrooms and seeing, the climate completely change into a very quiet learning environment that is working efficiently.
Well, Mark Short, Principal, Washington Elementary, I'm sure you'll achieve that goal, so
Yeah.
best of luck in 2014. Thank you for joining us with this conversation. I'm Bob Colton. We'll continue our conversation in Charlotte Public Schools.